Kathrine Joseph, and the Green Party local electoral area representative for County Longford. And I'm here today with some members of Ardagh community, and today we're just going to discuss the impact of the Longford Council County Council Development Plan, the impact of this recommendation to rezone the area, the Ardagh House and the neighborhood park and other areas in Ardagh, and the impact of it, what it means to this community members. And here on my right, I have the chairperson of the Ardagh Preservation Society, and I have there on my left the secretary of the Ardagh Preservation Society as well, and I have other members of the community that want to talk to you today about how they feel about the recommendation and what they want the Longford Council to do about this situation. Thank you. So I just over to you, Joanne. Do you want to tell us what Ardagh community itself and the areas that we're talking about, what they mean to you, and why you want the council to change their recommendation on that?
Yes, thank you, Kathrine. So I've been living in Ardagh for 17 years now, and I have 3 children, all have grown up in Ardagh. I've been very active within the community throughout the time here. I'm not sure whether the community always appreciated it, but I was active. But the new most recent thing, Ardagh Preservation Society, came about sort of to try and liaise between all of the different groups in Ardagh, because there are so many. It has a wealth of community groups, such as the GAA, the Tidy Towns, the ICA, there's a Clock Tower Preservation Society, there's the Community Centre, there's the Girl Guides. There's a whole little conglomerate of people just volunteering and working on their special interests within the community. And so the Preservation Society sort of came about to try and draw them together to put together to try and it came about when action was taken within the neighbourhood park, and people objected to that, and so we sort of came together out of that, really. And there are new members of the community in it, people who blow-ins, if you like, and then there are members of families who've been here for years. And the neighbourhood park, potentially to us, is under threat in relation to us having access to use it. Now, I have photographs of my children playing in that park years and years ago, and we've used it consistently with neighbours. I'm a volunteer guide leader, and we use it. It would be nearly every other week in meetings during the summer. Previously, we would have had meetings that where we'd actually go in to the Ardagh Demesne grounds and have the meetings there, safely outside, off the road. If I could just explain, the convent, what was the Ardagh Convent Training College, was sold into private ownership, and as part of that the owner withdrew access to the front of the building, and so we were unable to use that area anymore, which meant there was no longer a circular walk that the villagers who had been doing for years, could do. That particular road frontage is specifically, it's part of the whole Featherstone redesign of the planned village, but I won't go into that now because somebody else will. So the neighbourhood park we see as potentially being under threat if the county development plan goes ahead, because it means that the land will be rezoned from recreation green areas. I'm going to transfer over to Francesca, the secretary of the president. Oh, sorry,
okay.
Kathrine.
Sorry, no, Kathrine.
Yeah,
question. What question do you have?
Yeah, please just tell us who you are and why Ardagh Neighbourhood Park and all the areas we're talking about is so important to you, and why, and what do you want the council to do about this decision that is about to be made on this environment.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for coming out and speaking with us. We really appreciate your support, and it's been fantastic. I'm going to try and not repeat what Joanna has said, so I'm trying to quickly think of it there. But the recommendation is to rezone the lands of Ardagh Demesne from tourism to agriculture, and Ardagh House and the 2 gate lodges from tourism to recreation. As Joanna mentioned, the neighbourhood park, the Ardagh Neighbourhood Park, which has been in existence since 1990, is also within the folio of the domain, and should the recommendation for rezoning go ahead, the park will be rezoned to agriculture. And to repeat what Joanna had said, there is a real and substantial risk that community amenity will be lost, because it clarifies that that is indeed part of the domain, and all of the trees could be felled to accommodate more space for agriculture. My concern is of unintended consequences, to be honest with you. We have found no reason as to why the rezoning is required. The current owners have been working the lands as agriculture, I think pretty much since they purchased the property in 2012, with absolutely no issues. A protected structure does not need to be zoned as residential for somebody to live in it. Indeed, the 2 gate lodges are actually being lived in, so that's not needed. So to repeat myself, we don't understand the requirement of actually rezoning it. They are protected structures. There is substantial funding available to owners of protected structures to make sure that the protected structures don't become endangered, to keep them up to the level of habitability or of use that is necessary. And I'm very concerned about the possible loss of another protected structure, because our built heritage and our history is extremely important. We need more tourist opportunities, we need more employment opportunities for Longford. We have to be creating circular economies rather than relying on, and as fantastic as Centre Parks actually is, that is an outside company coming into our space. Now, to be fair, they're doing great. I was just speaking to somebody last night who had a fantastic week in Longford last week and had a great time, but we'd love to put Ardagh properly back on the map again. We are a multi-award winning heritage village. We are very unusual that the village, as Joanna mentioned, planned. It was all the workhouses, the 2 gate lodges, the Featherstone Memorial Clock Tower, they were all designed by James Ross and Carroll in the 1860s. So there's a huge amount of history here. Eliza would be able to, she's a history buff, so she knows far more readily than I do to do with it, but we have churches, graveyards. The first Ardagh House was built in the 1730s. I mean, that's nearly, we're having a 300-year party, hopefully, in 2030s. There's huge stuff that we could do. So thank you again so much for visiting us and for taking the time.
Thank you, Francisca. And the young lady here on my right, it is important for me to ask what this Ardagh community and the whole area that is under this recommendation to be rezoned mean to you, because as a young person I believe that living in this community, something like taking away a neighbourhood park will mean a lot to you in other ways. So just tell us about, tell us your name and just tell us what this whole situation means to you.
So I'm Eliza and I'm actually Joanna's daughter, but I have grown up here my entire life. Like I cannot remember a time where I was not regularly coming here to like the Heritage Centre and to the neighbourhood park, and like I basically grew up in like this, like it's an amazing place, like that we have like the gate, we have the house, we have like so much. Like even when I was little we did the walk through the grounds of the house, and if this is rezoned, that's like there will never be another generation who gets to see, like who gets that wonderful like area to grow up in. And like it's like even the current generation, I know I myself was like thinking of getting like a job in tourism around here, or like other people my age have been like fascinated by the history surrounding this place. Like as Francesca mentioned, I've done lots of research on the history of this area, and I would love to like continue to work here and maybe continue to grow the economy. But the thing is, with if this is rezoned, and even if it's not rezoned, but I will have to move somewhere else, because it won't be possible for me to live here, because it's not possible for me to make a living. It's not sustainable for me to make a living out of doing like a walking tour of Ardagh for very little advertisement. Like I'd be doing it like for a few people every now and then. I wouldn't be able to make a living out of it.
Oh, really, it's a pity to hear that, and I just hope that the councillors and Councillor Longford will just listen to your voice and do the right thing, because it means a lot to someone like you who maybe want to be even a tour guide here in Ardagh in future. And like you said, this is an opportunity for young people like you to have jobs, to be able to enjoy your environment, your park and all of that. And if that's taken away, I think it's going to make it's going to be reflect on the people, the community in a very negative way, and also from the environmental aspect of it, like you said. And the trees that are around this place is so important. And at this time, the whole world is planting trees, spending a lot of money planting trees. We don't want a natural disaster and that we're hearing about in Turkey and other places to come. So I think, like you said, I know that what this means to you, and I hope that that your dreams will not just be taken away with this recommendation. Thank you for talking to us, and I'll just over to you, Anne. And I understand that you have a business here as well in Ardagh, and you're an active community member here. Can you just tell us what this recommendation means to you, and what you feel about this whole situation?
Well, I run the Heritage Centre here, and I have been for 10 years. And I just actually want to go back on, it's relevant too with what you were saying about tours. How can you make business? And you can't really, because we've had lots of buses from all over the world and all over the country and whatever, and when we bring them down into the village, we can't bring them into the house. And when the common was there, you could at least walk through it, and depending on whether they class them or not, they might get in. But they could see the stable yard, they could see the kitchen gardens, all that was closed off, which was very unfortunate, because it was, we weren't long here when that happened. but we've had to kind of stand in the middle of the village and point out things and talk about it from there. So it is difficult to make a business out of that. And it would, like when we set up, we envisaged that we will be doing it and then younger people will be doing it. And we actually we've had 3 or 4 different students in here over the years training in tourism for their, for different certs and VTech certs and stuff. And like it would have been lovely to know that they could have a job here. But it's not sustainable for myself and Annette, never mind future people, which is very unfortunate. So that's just back to that. It is a pity because this was one of the first heritage centres in the country, and to see that it has just been left to basically, whatever we can do on our own is such a pity. It was closed for a long time before we took it over, and we had to build up people, and there's been over 50,000 people coming to this place. But most of them would have been through school tours and through group tours that we organised and events. You have to create events because while it was closed for the, 10, 15 years it was closed, it was like a vacuum about Ardagh. So we had to build that all up again. And the rezoning is really unfortunate because, like you said, there's no reason to rezone. It's been farmed already. But if it is rezoned, then that whole potential of tourism is gone, and it's just gone for future generations. And to be honest, in this day and age, we shouldn't be trying to build big farms because that's what's destroying the world. This could be a sustainable village on its own. Like had a kitchen garden there that could have been used. There's just so much that could be, but instead we're going for the big industrial farms, which doesn't make any sense to me. I know I went off topic there, so that's no, passionate about the environment. Correct. But I know I went off topic there, but I just was agreeing with you on that. Yeah, I just think it's very unfortunate. I don't see why it would be recommended to rezone. I really just don't understand it. It doesn't make any sense to me. The neighbourhood park has been used by us since the beginning. All our school tours are about nature and like that's a native deciduous forest, and there's very little of that around. It's really important.
You're absolutely right.
Can I go back?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I just to follow on from what Anne was saying there, like the neighbourhood park that was planned by Dr. Christy Boylan and opened by Charles Hoy, as part of Tree Week, that we should lose that, and that there is a limited vision from the council because, Longford at the moment is buzzing with centre parks and the whole rebranding and the tourism dynamic that's going on. Longford is buzzing, but if you look at each individual thing, you look at the Mott, the Knights and Conquest, you look at Maria Edgeworth, you look at these things, and it's driven. Generally, you'll find one person or a core few people of volunteers who've developed that, who've had that vision and just stuck with it, and it's volunteers, and they've done that, and the council seems to have just piggybacked it, and they've drawn it together to create a sort of package. But Ardagh is there. It's built. It is you just drive in and it is there. But the currently there would never be never say never, but there wouldn't be the volume of tourism trade passing through Ardagh to make opening a cafe sustainable, so that when people come, oh no, they can't get a cup of tea, can't get a sandwich, and so, but that's the aspect that there needs to be a focus on, creating that sustainability development is right. Well, we subsidise that, and so we make this part of the tour so that people are coming through and they see the village and they bring that they bring that energy through, and then they move on to Ballymahon, or then they move around to Longford, or so that we're part of the tour, we're part of the Goldsmith experience, which we should be. I mean, you know, it's one of the key South Longford writers, and who wrote a play based on experience in the village, and it's mentioned on the trail, but there's never been any dynamic or interaction to involve it, to include it, and you know, so you have a council who is relying on the goodwill of volunteers and to a certain investing from the perspective of providing shiny brochures, village maps, which are brilliant. They are excellent. The one in Granite is brilliant.
And the art of it.
Yeah, but Granite, because tourism Granite is like Granite is a tourism destination. Who knew? So rather than just piggybacking off the volunteers' vision the whole time, let's have council-led action. You know, there are how many planned villages in Ireland? 3? I don't think 3 that I know of.
Here and there.
Yeah.
I don't know the other
But
one.
it is unique.
Yeah.
And it's unique, and it's the reason. It's part of the reason I drove in here. You know, the first time, and I loved it. And I thought, well, this will do.
Yeah.
And
Same.
yeah.
Something myself on my partner did exactly the
And
same.
you know, and in terms of Eliza, who loves the whole historic feel to the place, and Ardagh has created, it has generated loads of historians through Martin Morris, the county archivist from Ardagh. Who?
He's from Legan.
But there are, you know, it is an inspirational place.
It's all inspiring.
Yeah, it's an inspirational place, and you know, it's just very short-sighted to have the whole thing at risk when Longford is developing built tourism in the Knights and Conquests in Maria Edgeworth Centre with a natural next stop.
And can I just say something on... he is from Legan, but when I was doing all of my research on the village, I actually went into him to see if he had anything. And in that library, in Longford, but in the library, there's so much work on like the graveyards in Ardagh, like just general history in Ardagh, the house, just like, because any historian or anybody who's remotely interested in anything who comes here is like, oh, that's cool, let me just write a quick novel on that.
Yes.
Because like there's so much because like you can look at any of the houses. Like I'm also a writer, like I do creative writing and stuff. And like I can look at any of the buildings in Ardagh and instantly you've got mounds and just mounds of like beautiful like architecture, like it's from
Sir Shelley.
Yeah. And like just like amazing storytelling, and like even if the story is the factual stuff, even most of the factual stuff isn't set in stone. Like nobody knows why the Featherstones came. There's 2 opposite stories. Like they came fleeing the Cromwell, or they came because of him.
One or the other.
Yeah. Like nothing is like this place is like literally just a gold mine of stories, and like. And even just coming to the village, you can feel that. Like when you're walking around, you can just feel like there's so many things that you could say about this place.
Yeah. Thank you. I agree with every one of you, and I think that Longford needs a lot of businesses and job opportunities and a lot of sustainable development. And this is not the time for us to be giving away this kind of treasure, this kind of historical place, and this huge potential of sustainable tourism, and also we need to be looking at the impact that it will have on the environment in general as well. But so I suppose the next question will be, my next question to you, everyone, is now the public consultation on this recommendation to rezone these areas to agricultural and residential is closing on Tuesday, on the 10th of August specifically. What do you want to say to the people around County Longford? What do you want the public to know about this lobbying or the summation, and what do you want to ask them to do to be able to help you save this environment? I'll just ask you first.
Okay, well, I would say please write to your local councillor, write to the council, write to the chief executive of the council, Paddy Mahon, and just ask him to not have the submission go through. Francesca will say it tonight.
Yeah, actually, that's exactly it. And this is not just for people in Longford. Anybody can contact our county councillors. If you visit our website, ardaghavillage.ie, we have an objection letter and we have an objection report, which, as Eliza kindly pointed out, is a condensed history of Ardagh, because books is actually the truth, and we don't have. I just had to condense it all down. You can send that to the councillors, because not everybody's going to know everything about the village. I'm still learning. Eliza is going to be teaching us all now on our walking tour, hopefully during Heritage Week, if everything goes okay. But yes, please contact councillors. All of the councillors, you have until Tuesday, as Kathrine said. The official third stage public consultation finishes on Tuesday at 4 o'clock. You can make a submission also to the council objecting to the recommendation. Yes, thank you, that's it. Please contact the councillors.
And do you...
And share on social media, please, and sign our petition as well. Sorry, forgot to say that too.
Yeah, I'd just like to say thanks for doing the petition and for everything. It's brilliant. There's so many books about this place. We have to save it, really. That's it.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
there's
still
loads of archaeological studies that haven't been written up from digs and stuff. You know, like some of them were written up in 2014, whatever. Like, but
And
there's
there's
just
a
so
report
much
that's in the domain that's going to be added to the record of monuments and places. So that hasn't been investigated yet.
So that, like, it's just there's been people living here since there's been people living here in Ireland, really, and it's just we keep finding more and more history about it, and it needs to be saved. It is a treasure, and it should be treated like a treasure.
And the Featherstones have been here since 1703, isn't it the first record, or possibly the 1600s? Yeah. So 300 years plus.
So from
There's give it the last word, yeah. What do you want the councillors in County Longford to do? What do you want to tell the public now about this public consultation that is closing on Tuesday?
Just really, again, to the public, what everyone else has said, message the council and contact the council and say, no, don't do this, because the reality is if this does go through, we'll be losing basically an entire generation, because I'll have no reason to stay here. I have other friends who want to do similar-ish things around here who also would have no reason to stay here, so basically are just gonna go, and the reality is it has been around for hundreds of years, and if more than 100 years, and it would be sad if it ended all because of what we do now. It would be sad if we were the reason that this massive wealth of history and just massive wealth of everything just ends because of us, and it's our fault because we didn't do anything.
Yeah. Thank you.
So we need the councillors to reject the recommendation.
Well done. Thank you, everyone. And really lovely to chat with all of you. I've learned a lot even from chatting with you today. And myself as a Green Party representative, and also someone that has a background in hospitality and tourism as well. I've said it before, even in my other my objectives and my profile. If anyone goes to my Facebook page or other place to look at it, I've always been about, my vision for County Longford is to have sustainable development. There's a lot of potential in Longford, and I've always said that we need more money in Longford, we need more investment in Longford, we need more businesses, more jobs, and to put Longford in the map of of Ireland, and to even make Longford a leading county in even climate actions and all the important development that's going on around the world. And at this point that we're discussing this kind of issue about this huge great treasure that is already here, and to be trying to give it up just like that, to be trying to rezone it into agriculture or residential place, it's really, I feel really bad about it. I'm really disappointed to hear, and I would, all of you have my support in this, and I want to tell the public at this point as well that it is important that you reach out to your councillors. It is important for the council, the council to have a second thought about this recommendation and to do the right thing, so that this place will be preserved, and not just to be preserved, but that's for the community to be supported, for investment to be put, more investment to be put into this environment, so that we can develop the tourism and potential that is here in a sustainable way. Thank you all very much, and I'll be chatting to you again soon.
Thank you so much, Kathrine.